This is part 2 of 10 things that Muslims think are haram but are not. Welcome back, guys, to FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and just like part 1, I compiled a list of things that may not necessarily be strictly forbidden in Islam. Rather, they're more so frowned upon and avoided as much as possible. So again, we're going to count down from 10 to number 1, and we start off at number 10, having pets. As a general Islamic ruling, animals that are harmful by nature are not permissible to be kept as pets, like snakes and scorpions and other animals like that. But animals that are generally not harmful are permissible to keep unless specified otherwise. Muslims in the past have had non-predatory birds and pigeons as pets, as well as guinea pigs and hamsters are generally non-harmful animals. So domesticating these type of animals as pets will not be considered haram. And what a lot of Muslims do is that they have a separate place of prayer in their home, just so that the pets aren't mingling in their prayer space. For number 9, we look at swearing. Now, swearing is considered an immoral act, and although it's not considered haram, it is disliked and frowned upon. In the hadith, Bukhari and Muslim, it states that Ibn Masud narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "Swearing to a Muslim is a debauchery and an immoral act, and killing a Muslim is an act of kufr." So you see, such behavior like swearing contradicts the complete faith of a person who does so. Also, Ibn Masud narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "A Muslim is not a person who slanders, curses, speaks obscene words, or is abusive." And the Hadith Bukhari also reported that Abdullah bin Umar narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said, "A Muslim is a person whom all Muslims are safe from his tongue and hands." Number 8, eating with the left hand. The majority of Islamic scholars state that eating and drinking with your right hand is recommended and rewarded, and is undesirable to eat or drink using your left hand when not necessary. Now, some people actually have a real problem that prevents them from using their right hand, such as being paralyzed or simply being left-handed. In this case, they are excused and there is no blame put on them. In one hadith by Al-Nawawi, it said, "If he has an excuse for not eating and drinking with his right hand, such as sickness or an injury, then this is not makruh." Next up, let's look at proposing to an engaged woman. If a person has proposed to a woman, it is not permitted for anyone else to offer a proposal to her because of the hadith of Ibn Umar, which states that the Prophet Muhammad said, "No man should offer a proposal or marriage over the proposal of his brother until the first one gives up or gives him permission." Now, Al-Tirmidhi reported that the meaning of this hadith is this: if a man proposes to a woman and she likes him and she accepts a proposal, no one else should propose to her after that. But if he, the second man, does not know that she liked and accepted that proposal, well, then there's nothing wrong with his proposing to her. Number 6 takes us to smoking. Scholars all over the world, they differ on which word is used to rule out cigarettes. Is it haram? Is it makruh? Is it permissible? Some say it is absolutely haram because it is a slow method of killing yourself, which is haram in Islam, as well as for other reasons relating to health and the odor that it emits and how it interferes with other people. But generally speaking, the best opinion regarding smoking is that it is makruh or disliked, since there is not enough evidence to say that smoking is haram. And makruh, by the way, like I mentioned in part 1, is a disliked act that is very close to haram but not necessarily haram. Alright, so we reach halfway in this episode. Just want to let you know that if you haven't seen part 1 to this, definitely check it out. I'll link to it below in the video description section, where we look at 10 other things that Muslims think are haram but are actually not. A lot of you guys like that one and you requested part 2, but if you haven't seen part 1 yet, again, I'll link to it below in the video description section, where you can check it out after you finish watching this episode. Now, moving on to number 5, eating after sex. It is permissible for a person, whether a man or a woman, to touch things such as clothing and food before bathing after having intercourse. It's reported in a Sahih hadith that Abu Huraira was with the Prophet Muhammad one day, and then he withdrew from him, and then he came back, and the Prophet Muhammad said this: "Where were you, O Abu Huraira?" He said, "I was ritually impure and did not want to sit with you when I was not tahir, or pure." The Prophet said, "Subhanallah, a Muslim does not become ritually impure." Next up, we have an animal slaughter in front of other animals. Scholars agree that part of the etiquette of slaughtering is not to slaughter one animal in front of another. And Ibn Qudayma in a hadith said this: "It is makruh, disliked, to slaughter one sheep when another is looking on." And Sheikh Abd al-Mushin al-Abad said these words: "He should not slaughter it with a tool or cause pain to it as he is slaughtering it. Also, he should not slaughter it in front of another because this is torture." Next up at number 3, talking during ablution. It is permissible for a person to speak while doing his wudu or ablution, which is washing your body parts, because there is nothing to indicate that this is not allowed according to Islamic Sharia law. It's also been reported by some of the scholars that it is makruh to speak while doing wudu. An-Nawawi spoke of the traditions of wudu and actions that are preferred while performing it, and he said this: "He should not speak unnecessarily during wudu." So it is frowned upon, but not necessarily haram. Moving on to number 2, foreplay. Engaging in this is an important part of a happy marriage, and it should never be disregarded. Malik ibn Anas reported that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "None of you should come onto your wife like an animal, but rather there should be between them a messenger." It was said, "What is a messenger, O Prophet of Allah?" He replied, "Foreplay of kissing and words." Also, Imam Ibn Qudama, the famous Hanbali jurist, he mentions a narration where the Prophet Muhammad is reported to have said, "Do not begin intercourse until she has experienced desire like the desire you experience, lest you fulfill your desires before she does." And not only did Prophet Muhammad encourage foreplay, but he himself engaged in it with his wives. And we end this episode off at number 1, divorce. Although it is not encouraged, most Muslims agree that divorce is permitted if a marriage has broken down, and generally Muslims are permitted to remarry if they so wish. In the hadith, Abdullah ibn Umar reported that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "The most detestable of lawful things before Allah is divorce." So although divorce is allowed, Muslims should really try to avoid it if possible. This means that many Muslims who experience difficulties in their marriage, they try to resolve their issues just so it doesn't lead to the path of divorce. And on that note, that's where we end this episode, guys. This was a look at 10 things that Muslims think are haram but are actually not, part 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as much as you did part 1. As always, I'm curious to know your thoughts and comments. Leave them down below. And also, if this is your first time here to FTD Facts, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted. We explore the various different countries, cultures, religions, and people of our world. So if any of those topics interest you, any or all of them, go ahead and join the FTD Facts family, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.